Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, it's all settled, almost, but the season finally comes to a close with the Yankees limp away with a win against the Pittsburgh Pirates to close out the regular season. Not exactly ending in style there, but nevertheless the Yankees securing the number one seed during the weekend there because Cleveland has happened to be a little bit more pathetic than the Yankees are lately. But again, all things being considered, you'll take the AL East crown and you'll take the number one seed in the American League. So we got everything set there on the American League side. On the National League side, of course, got to blame those Mets, but no, you would blame the hurricane that recently came up the Eastern Seaboard, delaying really the final two seeds to see who's going to be the final two wildcard teams over in the National League. So it's not all settled yet. So kind of get you caught up on everything. And of course, the Yankees now with I don't say it's a big blow, but look, most likely not going to have Anthony Rizzo at least available for the divisional series there during the weekend, taking a ball off his hand, fracturing, because a hairline fracture in his hand, or if they say the fourth and fifth finger there. So looks like he's out there and Ben Rice is in there. So get you caught up on all this stuff. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. And you don't want to miss out on the YouTube episodes as well there. You get to see me, as much as you want to hear me, you also want to see me as well. But you want to get all of it. So go to YouTube, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe there as well. So the Yankees, you seemingly didn't actually have the greatest for homestands once you come to think about it. Really a 2-4 homestand against the Orioles and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Again, all they needed during these 6 games to either win one of those games or Baltimore had to lose one of them. That would at least get them the AL East title there. And then, of course, at that point, you kind of got scoreboard watching with Cleveland to see if you could get the number one seed team. Is it the biggest deal in the world if you're number one and number two? No, I mean, you want to be one of those two. At least you avoid the first round there. You don't have to deal with any wild card round there and potentially just get knocked out, which would be a disaster there. So, whether you're 1 and 2, is it the biggest deal in the world? No, but that only comes to fruition if the Yankees end up facing Cleveland in the American League Championship Series there. And then, of course, at that point, you want definitely being the number one seed there will give you the home field advantage. But even if the Yankees had to play in Cleveland, I think they could handle that as well. They've done that in recent years. I mean, you go from 2017, 2020, as well as 2022, be able to defeat Cleveland and again win some big games in Cleveland there. So, but nevertheless, that's all aside right now. And the Yankees really, maybe after the high of finally, securing the AL East with the final Baltimore game there, maybe they just kind of took the foot off the pedal a little bit and kind of got a little lackadaisical. Lost the first 2 games against Pittsburgh. Really, the first one wasn't that terrible. It's like a 4-2, okay, whatever. But the second one was kind of a slop fest there. Not a good start for Luis Gil there. And, of course, the big news that Anthony Rizzo taking that ball off his hand there. It was kind of a curveball, I guess, in a break-in. I mentioned the hurricane before in New York. Obviously it wasn't a hurricane weather, but this the past couple of days, not nice, kind of misty, danky type of weather there. So probably it's hard to get a good grip on the ball there. And, unfortunately, I don't think the pitcher obviously was not trying to hit Rizzo. You're a Pittsburgh Pirate team that's in the dumps and going nowhere. And, you're not going to bean Rizzo. I don't think it was on purpose there. It was just a bad break. Probably couldn't get a good grip of the ball. And unfortunately, just hit Rizzo in the perfect spot. So he has a hairline fracture in the hand. Boone said that they might possibly play in the divisional series, but it doesn't look likely. He's going to have to play through pain. And if the Yankees are fortunate to go beyond the divisional series, possibly have him back. But again, he's going to have to be playing through pain. It just doesn't seem like, why would you put the guy through it? I know he's, hitting, he hasn't really done much. And even since he came back, really hasn't given you much there. So you're not really losing a big bat. Basically, just losing his defense. You at least take his defense over whatever other options the Yankees have. But at least in the short term, it looks like Ben Rice is back. So they recalled him from AAA. So again, he's going to get another shot with the team who, he came on pretty good with the Yankees early on. He didn't seem overwhelmed, overflustered. But again, the batting average was hitting below 200 there. He wasn't able to really keep it up for him to really stay here with the team. And then once Rizzo came back, it was kind of an easy choice to send him back down. But now he gets a second look, and maybe, hey, look, now that he's already been here, he's kind of done it before. He was with the Yankees for a while. He got a little bit of seasoning, so maybe he's a better version of Ben Rice than what we saw a month or two ago. That remains to be seen. The other options, obviously, could be DJ LeMahieu, who's working back from the hip impingement. Boone said that, again, he's been shut down, has actually helped him, but this has been a lost season for DJ. I don't want to see him back at all. Now, is his defense maybe even better than Ben Rice's? Even if you worry about defense in the playoffs, maybe you could make the case for that. But I'm more comfortable having Ben Rice in there to throw the kid in there. I mean, he didn't seem overwhelmed. Even defensively, he didn't seem overwhelmed. So I think he can handle the job. And DJ we're carrying this guy around too much. And he's finished. And I just don't want to see DJ, especially starting a playoff game. Is Ben Rice offensively better than DJ by far in leaps and bounds? No, but I'd rather have to see what Ben could do versus we know what DJ could do with the season, and it hasn't been that great. So that's that. And the Yankees is lucky. They really didn't have to win the final game against Pittsburgh, and they already clinched after the second Pittsburgh loss there. But nevertheless, at least end the season with at least a win there. So whatever you want to hold your hat on that. Game actually was tied 4-4, and then Verdugo shockingly actually got a big hit late in the game there. Again, he's kind of been scuffling in some big spots there, but gets a big hit to score 2. The Yankees go ahead by score 4-6, and then Luke Weaver gets the win. And I kind of mentioned before the series that at some point they might want to throw Holmes out there just in the ninth inning just to see what would happen. Can he handle it? And he did. He was able to secure the save there. So now we get back into the postseason. Is Holmes going to get that ninth inning? Is it Weaver going to get the ninth inning? Hard to say right now, but I wasn't shocked that Boone was going to at least, if he had an opportunity, throw Holmes out there just to see how he would bounce back after losing the closer job to Weaver. But if I had to take a guess between the two, ideally, I think Boone would rather go to Weaver in the ninth inning. It's only been a really small sample size, but so far so good what we've seen since Weaver has taken over there in the closer role. So that's how the Yankees end the season, 94-68, more or less what you kind of thought. And did some of the predictions early in the season. We'd use a couple of these like StatCast, different predictor websites, like that. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I remember I used 2 of them. The wins were kind of off a little bit, but they both did predict that the Yankees would be the AL East champions. Well, you take your hats off to them. Those 2 stats websites are right. One had them at 80-something wins, which does not make sense. You cannot win a division. At least you're not going to win the American League with only 80-something wins. The other one had them like around, I think it might have been more or less 94 to 96 wins, so that kind of sounds about right. So that one was pretty spot on. And you look at this team, you don't look at them as a 100-win team, but you figured after winning only 82 games last year, more or less you got the same team. But of course, the big addition, of course, is Juan Soto. So it's hard to really determine how many wins Soto's going to add to an 82-win team. But you figure the Yankees would end up 94, 95 wins. So really no big surprise. And really, but the funny part is you just think of how many wins and how many games the Yankees, as I guess David Cohn says, left a lot of meat on the bone. So many winnable games that the Yankees kind of squandered away, blew, and stuff like that. I mean, very easily could have been a 100-plus win team there. So, but I'm not going to get too over our heads. And not only that, you had half the season where you didn't have Garrett Cole. I mean, you didn't have Garrett Cole till July. You didn't have Jason Dominguez almost like a couple of weeks ago. So, 2 pieces that, imagine if we had them for the entire season. Again, this could have very easily been a 100-plus win team. I almost can take it to the bank. So that's the quality of team this is. I'm not saying it's one of the great Yankee teams in over the past 25 years or so, anything like that. But you'll be able to see the potential of this team that now that all the pieces are back. But we'll just see how Boone writes out the lineup card once we get into the postseason. So that's the Yankees there. So we'll kind of just quickly go around the horn, I guess, with the postseason bracket since it's almost filled up. We got to wait on the doubleheader makeup game between the Mets and the Braves. That's going to decide things finally, and that'll take place on Monday the 30th. And after that, we'll have both the complete picture in both the AL and the NL. But first, we'll go to the AL. Of course, I mentioned before, Yankees number 1, Cleveland number 2. They both get a bye, so they get to sit back a little bit and just watch baseball on TV. Now, in the rest, the Houston Astros, since they won the AL West, the technically number 3 seed, they will face the 6th-seeded Detroit Tigers. So Detroit officially, and that happened the other night. And then over the other bracket, the top wild card team, the Baltimore Orioles, the number 4 seed, will play the number 5 seed, Kansas City Royals. So if you watch the latest YouTube episode, I almost got it right, except you would flip flop. I figured that Detroit would play Baltimore and KC would play Houston. So I almost had it right, but still pretty close. So you flip flop those, but nevertheless, those are the teams I figured were going to be in. Again, they were kind of in the driver's seat at that point anyway. So that's the American League. Now over to the National League. As mentioned, it gets a little interesting there with the Mets and the Braves. So they'll have the doubleheader. Now, the Braves only have to win one of those 2 games. So let's say the Braves win one and lose one. Both the Braves and the Mets will get in, but of course the Braves then will be the 5th-seeded team, and the Mets would be the 6th-seeded team. Now, if the Mets win both of those games, the Mets would be the higher-seeded team. So in that case, the Mets would be the 5th-seed team, and then the Braves would drop down to be the 6th-seeded team there in the brackets, and with Arizona then basically SOL out of luck there. Now, there is a possibility where if you're a Yankee fan that hates the Mets, this is what you're rooting for tomorrow. If the Mets get swept from both games, so the Mets would have to drop both games of the doubleheader, then in that case, the Mets are totally out, and then your 2 wildcard teams will be the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Braves. And the Braves, will get in that case, will have the 5th-seeded team, and the Diamondbacks will squeak in as the 6th seed team. Now, unfortunately for the Diamondbacks, they don't have the tiebreaker against the Mets or the Braves. So, only way that the Mets don't make it in is if they lose both games of the doubleheader. If the Mets just win one, fine, they're in. And if they win both, they're in and they're above the Braves in the seeding team, but at least make the playoffs. So the Mets has got to win one of those 2 games there. So, again, if you're one of those bitter Yankee fans that just wants to hate on another team, I guess you're rooting for the Mets to lose both. But nevertheless, I think it's more fun if both the Mets and the Yankees are in there. At least it's, this makes it more fun for the city, and maybe some speculation of we get a Subway Series matchup. I don't think it's going to happen, but at least it's floating around there. You can think about it a little bit. So I don't know. I'm gonna maybe because I'm just in a good mood at the moment. Maybe I'm gonna root for the Mets just to get in. I don't expect them to go far, but at least it just makes it interesting a little bit. Just ride it out a bit. The Mets getting off the got to an absolutely awful start to the season, similar to the Houston Astros. A lot of injuries, and it got to the point where they're just basically, you feel like Stephen Cohen was just going to basically empty out, just get rid of everybody, rebuild and retool and ship everybody out, but he kind of stuck with it. And again, former Yankee bench coach Carlos Mendoza, it looks like he's getting a lot of high remarks there, where he just kind of pulled the team together, and we'll see there. They got their own destiny in their hands. All they got to do is win one of those 2 games, and they're in. So that's the episode. Yankees kind of finished the weekend with a little bit of a whimper, but nevertheless get the final win. Most importantly, they're the number 1 seeded team, so we'll see what happens with the Mets, and then from there we'll have a clear picture of the entire postseason bracket. Catch you next time.